My neighbor told me to stop stealing his Wi-Fi, and that's when things got weird. I wish I were joking. Someone was threatening to call the police, and I was genuinely questioning whether I was the crazy one. So I live in a pretty standard apartment complex. Nothing special, beige walls, thin floors, and the kind of place where you accidentally learn your neighbors' schedules without ever speaking to them. You hear everything: chairs scraping, doors slamming, the occasional emotional breakdown at 2 a.m. I work from home, so my internet isn't just important, it's survival. Meetings, deadlines, uploads. If my Wi-Fi dies, my entire day collapses. So I did what any paranoid remote worker would do. I paid extra for a faster plan, bought a decent router, and set everything up properly. Network name, something boring. Password, long, random, impossible to guess, or so I thought. Everything was fine for months. Stable connection, no issues. Until one random Tuesday afternoon. I remember it clearly because I was in the middle of a meeting, camera off thankfully, when someone started knocking on my door. Not a polite knock either. Loud, repetitive, urgent. I muted myself, annoyed, and went to answer it. Standing there was my neighbor. We'd never properly met, but I'd seen him around. Mid-40s, always wearing slippers outside, the kind of guy who looks like he's constantly mildly inconvenienced by life. "Hey," he said, completely serious. "I need you to stop using my internet." I actually laughed, not even on purpose, it just slipped out, because in my head this had to be a joke, like maybe I'd missed the punchline. He didn't laugh, not even a smile. "I'm serious," he said. "You've been using it for a while now." That's when the confusion hit. I'm not using your internet," I told him. "I have my own." He stared at me like I had just lied straight to his face. "No, that signal, that's mine. I set it up. You're connected to it." Now I'm standing half inside my apartment, half in the hallway, trying to process how this conversation is even real. So I grab my phone, pull up my Wi-Fi settings, and turn the screen toward him. "This one," I said. "That's mine. I pay for it." He barely looked. "That doesn't prove anything," he replied. "Signals travel. You probably picked up mine and renamed it." I just blinked at him. Renamed it, like I hacked into his Wi-Fi and then customized it. I tried explaining calmly, patiently. I talked about service providers, monthly bills, routers, installation, basic, everyday stuff. He wasn't having it. Every explanation just made him more convinced I was lying. Eventually, he shook his head, muttered something about people these days, and walked off. I closed the door and just stood there for a second. Because what do you even do after that? I told a friend about it later and we laughed. Like really laughed, it became a joke. "Careful," they said, "you might steal someone's electricity next." I thought that was the end of it. It was. A few days later, my internet started acting weird. At first, it was small things, a video buffering longer than usual, pages loading slower. Nothing dramatic, just off. Then came the random disconnects. Meetings would freeze, calls would drop, files would fail to upload. And if you've ever worked from home, you know how stressful that gets. I reset my router, restarted my devices, even called my provider, who walked me through the usual checklist like I hadn't already done everything twice. Everything looked fine on their end, but it wasn't fine. That's when I noticed something strange. A new Wi-Fi network had appeared. Same name as mine, but with _real added at the end. I stared at it for a solid 10 seconds, because there was no way, and right below it, my actual network. That's when it clicked. This man didn't just think I was using his internet. He thought he was the original, and I was the copy. I wish I could say I handled this maturely. Instead, I laughed, changed my Wi-Fi password, and went back to work. 5 minutes later, bang, 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 louder this time, more aggressive. I opened the door already knowing. Mark stood there, visibly furious. "Did you just lock me out?" he demanded. I blinked. Out of what? My internet. There was a pause, a long one, because my brain was trying to decide whether to laugh again or just close the door. "You mean my internet?" I asked. He pointed past me into my apartment. "You moved it, didn't you? That's why the signal is stronger here inside my apartment." I rubbed my face, trying to stay calm. "Listen," I said slowly, "this is my service. I pay for it. Whatever you were connecting to, it wasn't yours." Then he said something that changed the entire mood. "Then explain why I've been using it for 3 months. That hit differently. This wasn't just him being confused. This meant someone had been connected to my network for months without me noticing. I didn't respond right away. I just turned slowly and looked back into my apartment, at my router, at the little blinking lights I hadn't thought about in weeks. And for the first time, I felt that weird, creeping kind of unease. The kind where something small suddenly feels not small at all. I walked back inside without closing the door completely. Opened my laptop, logged into the router settings, and that's when I saw it. A list of connected devices, more than I expected, way more, some I recognized. My phone, my laptop, my TV. But the others, unknown names, random devices, still connected, active. And right as I was staring at the screen trying to process it, my internet cut out. Completely, no connection, no signal, nothing. From behind me, I heard Mark's voice from the hallway. See, you messed something up. But I wasn't listening anymore, because I was still staring at the device list at one specific connection that hadn't disappeared, one that was still active, even though my entire network was down. And I swear it wasn't there before. I just stared at the screen. Everything else had dropped. My phone offline, laptop no connection. Even my smart TV had that dead, useless, no signal icon. But that one device still there, still active, no name, no label, just a string of numbers I didn't recognize and a tiny blinking indicator showing data was still moving. In and out like it was alive. My first thought, glitch, it had to be, so I refreshed the page. Nothing changed. I logged out, logged back in. Restarted the router again, even though I knew it had just gone down. The lights blinked, reset, came back, devices slowly reappeared one by one, my phone, my laptop. And then that one still connected, still active. I felt this weird chill crawl up my back, because that didn't make sense. If the network reset, everything should have been kicked off, everything. Behind me, I could hear Mark pacing in the hallway. You see that? He called out. You broke it. That's what happens when you mess with things that aren't yours. I ignored him, I was too focused on the screen. There was a small option next to the device, disconnect. I hovered over it, paused. I don't know why, but something about it made me hesitate. Like pressing that button would confirm something I wasn't ready to deal with. But then Mark knocked again, louder this time, and it snapped me out of it. I clicked, disconnect. For a second, nothing happened. Then the device disappeared from the list. Gone. I exhaled, not even realizing I'd been holding my breath. Okay, I muttered to myself, just some weird bug, that's it. I stood up, ready to finally deal with Mark and end this whole ridiculous situation. But before I could even take 2 steps, the device came back. Same name, same activity. Connected, I froze, no delay, no reconnecting animation, just back, like it had never left. My heart started pounding, because now there were only 2 explanations. Either my router was completely broken, or something was forcing its way back in. I slowly backed away from my laptop, and that's when I noticed something else. The data indicator, it wasn't just active anymore. It was spiking, rapid bursts, uploading, downloading like someone or something was suddenly in a hurry, and then my screen flickered. Just for a second, I thought it was my imagination, until it happened again. A quick, sharp glitch across my laptop screen. Then my phone buzzed, no notification, just buzzed. I picked it up. The Wi-Fi icon flickered on. Then off, then on again. And for a split second, I saw a network I had never seen before. Not mine, not the fake real one, something else, no name, just a blank SSID, and before I could react, everything shut off. Lights, router, laptop, all of it dead. The apartment went completely silent. No hum, no noise, nothing. From outside, Mark stopped knocking. Hello? He called out, his voice suddenly unsure. I didn't answer, because I was standing there in the dark, staring at my router, waiting. And then one single light blinked back on. Slow, steady, not the usual pattern, not the normal startup sequence, just one light pulsing. And I swear, right before my laptop screen flickered back to life, I saw a new device appear on the list. Not unknown, not numbers, this time it had a name. And it was labeled owner. I didn't move, I didn't breathe, I just stared at the screen. Owner. Out of everything I was expecting, random codes, unknown devices, maybe even something creepy, that was not it. Behind me, Mark knocked again, but softer this time. Hey, is your power out too? He asked. For the first time since this whole thing started, he sounded unsure. Good. I slowly walked back to my laptop, my brain finally catching up, because suddenly things were starting to make sense. Not in a horror movie way, in a this guy is way too confident for someone who clearly doesn't understand Wi-Fi kind of way. I sat down, waited. The router fully came back online, lights stabilizing, connection restoring, devices reconnecting one by one, and there it was again, that device. Owner, still connected, still active. But this time I noticed something different, the IP address. It wasn't external, it wasn't some mysterious outside connection forcing its way in. It was local, very local, same subnet, same building, same floor. I slowly turned my head toward the door. Mark knocked again, a little louder now. Hey, don't ignore me, I think you broke it for both of us. I almost laughed, almost. Instead, I opened my router settings again and dug deeper. Connected devices, signal strength, usage logs, and there it was. One device, owner, pulling ridiculous amounts of data, streaming, downloading, constant activity, for months, 3 months, just like he said. I clicked into the details. Device type, smart TV, location estimate right next door. I leaned back in my chair, finally putting it all together. This man had accidentally connected to my Wi-Fi months ago, probably because he never set his own up properly. Saw the signal, clicked the first thing that worked. And instead of questioning it, he built an entire reality around it, convincing himself it was his, renaming networks, blaming me, knocking on my door like I was the problem. I rubbed my face and then I smiled, because now it wasn't confusing anymore, now it was personal. Mark knocked again. Are you fixing it or what? I stood up, walked to the door and opened it slowly. He looked relieved for half a second until he saw my face. Calm, too calm. Good news, I said. I figured it out. He crossed his arms. Finally, I nodded. You were right. That threw him off. What? You've been using this internet for months, I continued. Streaming, downloading, all of it. His expression shifted, confusion, then validation. I told you, but here's the thing, I cut in. I held up my phone and showed him the screen. His device, clear as day, connected to my network, usage logs and all, silence. Real, heavy silence. You never had internet, I said simply. You were just using mine the whole time. He stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen, processing slowly, painfully. That doesn't make sense, he muttered. It does, I said. You just never checked. For a second, I thought he was going to argue again, double down, blame me somehow, but instead he just stood there, deflating, like his entire confidence had quietly unplugged itself. And honestly, that should have been enough. A normal person would have left it there, accepted the win, closed the door, moved on. I am not a normal person. Because after 3 months of this man unknowingly freeloading, accusing me, knocking on my door like I owed him something, no, I wasn't done. I leaned casually against the doorframe. So here's what we're gonna do, I said. He looked up, cautious now. I smiled. I'll reconnect you. His face lit up instantly. Well, yes. Yeah, I nodded. Same speed, same access. Relief washed over him. Finally, he said, that's all I was asking. But I added, and that one word killed the moment. I tilted my head slightly. You're going to pay me, silence. Excuse me, he said. I shrugged. You said it yourself. You've been using it for 3 months. I held up 3 fingers. Let's call it a discounted rate. I'm feeling generous, he blinked. You're serious. Oh, I'm very serious, I said, or I reached behind me slowly and unplugged the router. The lights went out instantly. From somewhere inside his apartment, I heard it, a faint, tragic no. I looked back at him, smiled, and said, guess the signal doesn't travel that far after all. I started closing the door, then paused. Oh, and Mark, he looked up, defeated. Next time, maybe make sure you actually own something before you try to take it back. And I shut the door.